What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be looking at Nvidia today, talking about some price action and using some indicators. So we've been riding up for a long time, as you can imagine. Everybody knows Nvidia has been killing it for the past couple of years. So we've been in a sideways chop now since about the end of May. So we kind of have this range that we've been bouncing around. So we did have a primary trend line that was drawn out. It was broken, retested, pushed down to the secondary trend line, because usually once you get the break of the first one, you go to the secondary trend line. We closed back inside, and now we just closed again outside of it. So let's see if we get a retest of this trend line and then move down to this horizontal level of support or the bottom of this range. If that does happen, maybe we get a bounce, how we've seen previously. But let's see how it turns out. If not, if we fall underneath the range, then I could see something where get a close, retest, and move to lower prices. And then, of course, on the flip side, this is on a weekly time frame. Keep that in mind. So if we were to break out, maybe get a retest, and then continue up higher. That's what I see in the longer term. We could get a clean move upward if we push above this zone right here, 122 to 124. If we push above that, break above this secondary trend line that we have drawn out, we could get a clean move up to 135 or so. Not guaranteed, but the odds are in your favor if you can get above this level and this trend line. This should be able to create some momentum to that 135 region. Also, something I did notice was it kind of does look like a bull flag, but not really at the same time. Only reason I say not really is because this high was right here and price is pushed above it, but at the same time, it still does kind of look like a bull flag. A lot of the times you'll have the flagpole and then the bull flag will be somewhat downward, so I'll draw it out. It'll be something like, that'll be like the top of the range, and then the bottom of the range will be something like that. That's your classic bull flag, but then you do have the times where you get a flagpole up and then you get that parallel channel or range. We'll say that it's a bull flag. I'm not 100% sure if it's been invalidated with this move to the upside, to be honest, because I feel like it kind of makes it invalidated, but it's still playing out the same way as a regular bull flag. We have our bull flag, we have our flagpole. Same flagpole measures up with this previous. We kind of pushed up and we traded sideways, and it looks pretty familiar. So you have your flagpole, you traded sideways, ran up, and then when you use the measured flagpole from this move, from the bottom of this move, it's not exact, but it's pretty close, pretty spot on. It's always to get you in a region. It's like to get you in the area. It's not to be exact to the number, because nothing is ever exact in the market. Sometimes it does happen that way, but usually it's going to be close. But now this flagpole would be here, and then if we were to take that and measure it out for the next flagpole, maybe we get something. Maybe the next move on Nvidia long term would be up to that 370 level. You know, this is an extended period. I'm not saying next month. I'm not saying this year or next year. But it's just something to think about long term, and to think like, where could Nvidia go? The volume on Nvidia has been pretty steady, slightly above these lows over here, but kind of middle of the road of where it normally is. It's down from the peaks where it ran significantly. So let's see if we can kick it back up and get some larger moves up to the upside. In terms of the SMAs on the weekly, we are underneath the 20 and the 50, so we need to reclaim those. We closed on the 50 the last week, and then this most recent week here that we just finished, we ended up closing back underneath the 50. So we definitely need to take over that so we can continue the trend upward. On the daily SMAs, we are underneath all three, so that's definitely not a good sign. And we need to get above the 20, 50, and then take over this 200-day so we can have a strong level of support underneath price. In terms of the Bollinger Bands, we got a bounce off the bottom band, the green band, push to the blue. Now we're finding a little bit of rejection, but that blue band also coincides with this secondary trend line that we have drawn out here. So it's double resistance right now. On the weekly, we're still at the bottom band, so let's see if we get that move up to the blue, and then continue on to further prices and hit that primary trend line that we have drawn out in the top of the range. In terms of RSI, we're just underneath the middle of the road. Looks like we're trying to possibly start a trend upward. It could be a dead cat bounce and continue down, but we need to reclaim this moving average right here, the yellow, to help us stabilize price with power and push it up higher. On the daily, we're looking good. We're somewhat creating a mini bull flag here on the daily, or maybe it's going to become a pennant. So maybe it'll push price even higher, and the strength is building up to make another leg up to maybe the top of the range. We'll see how it plays out, of course. On the MACD, the daily looks amazing. Building up momentum, curling back up. The blue reclaimed the orange line, and we're starting to get those green candles to start forming, and eventually we'll get some large candles like this, and hopefully like this, to continue the trend upward. On the weekly, we have officially hit the bearish territory. We were already bearish for an extended period of time, but we've actually hit the negative now because this dotted line here is 0, the gray dotted line, and we've fallen underneath it, and volume's been increasing to the downside. So we need these candles to start shrinking and seeing this blue start to curl back up and take over the orange. We're going to take a look at Fibonacci retracements. So if we were to take this top move to the bottom here, that puts us right here, and price made a bounce. It used the 1618 as a bounce to move up higher, and now it's using the 2618 as a level of support and resistance. It's kind of a magnet right now. So we'll take the same thing, move it higher, and we're gonna move this back up to here to the beginning of this move. And let's say if the same thing were to repeat, where we bounce off the 1618 and then we use the 2618 as another level of support, that would actually line up with the flagpole that we had drawn out at 370. So if price were to shoot up to 1618, that would put it at 230, 220 as a level of support, potentially, if it were to play out exactly the same. Nothing's guaranteed. I'm just saying if it were to play out the exact same way. So if it were to push up to 1618 and bounce off, and then price act as a magnet up here at 2618, then that would put us at that 330, 340, maybe even up to the 370 range. So that's my outlook and take on it right now. I think Nvidia is a great company. They have a great CEO. He's one of the best out there. They're essentially selling the lemons when everybody's trying to make lemonade. They're the only ones that have lemons, and everybody's trying to make lemonade. So that's my reference in terms of the AI revolution, where everybody needs these chips that are effective, fast, and help produce the products that these companies are trying to make. Nvidia chips are the top notch. They're the best of the best. People try to make chips. It's always tough to compete with Nvidia. They're definitely the king in the semiconductor space. So I think they're definitely a solid play long term. If you want a little volatility in your portfolio, could be something that you want to add. These dips are buying opportunities, you know, for a long-term portfolio, of course. Being long-term focused is always the best option, in my opinion. Keeps you grounded. You stay less emotional. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.